or, to the company itself, to the business from a quality perspective, that is the absolute gold standard of quality. And I remember loading my car up with jars of kimchi, all the seats, everything, floor to ceiling, big car as well, big estate car, floor to ceiling, all the seats for everything, to go to the, and I got to the dump and they're like, is this, commercial waste? No.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the London Food Network podcast with your host, Sebastian Candelon. The show is sponsored by Embrace AI Consultancy, where we help food, drink, and hospitality businesses scale smarter with strategy and automation. Today, I'm joined by Pat Bingley from Eaten Alive, and I've been looking forward to this one, Pat. Tell us a bit more about yourself and what you do.
Oh, yeah. So we have a pickle and fermentation business based in South London. My business partner Glyn and I started around 8 years ago, supplying kimchi primarily to restaurants, and we have built the business from there to supply. So at the moment we're supplying about 600 food outlets in the UK, and we have a retail brand that's stocked in around 400 to 500 independent retailers. We don't do any supermarkets at the moment. But our focus is, and the bulk of our revenue comes from supplying hospitality businesses with great pickles, lots of fermented foods. We're best known for our kimchi and sauerkraut, and we have a nice range of chili sauces that we do as well, available on Amazon and online as well. So we've got a great little website at eatenalive.co.uk. And yeah, so we're basically a sort of foodie business that has worked hard to kind of make a bit of a space in what's a increasingly trendy part of the food world, making amazing
fermented foods, you mean?
Yeah, that's it. Fermentation's a great provider of complex flavors, and increasingly we're aware of the health benefits of eating a range of live foods as well. It's exciting from both a tasty and healthy angle, and that's what gets us really passionate about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's part of the reason I wanted to speak to you guys, really, because I mean, for me, I come at it more from the kind of health angle. I'm forever trying to optimize my health, not just from like a longevity or physical health, but particularly from like a mental kind of clarity. Like I find myself, if I don't eat correctly, if I don't look after myself well, then I might as well just stay in bed all day because my productivity is going to be almost zero. I'm going to go, you know what I mean? I'm not going to have any motivation. I'm not going to have any drive. And I need a lot of that when I run multiple businesses, have 3 kids and have to deal with, as you had to do today, just problems that naturally arise when you run a business, and you just got to always be able to just get on with it and solve those problems. So I wanted to ask you hey?
I like the idea that you might as well stay in bed. Yeah, right. If you own 3 food businesses, you're not staying in bed.
Sometimes I'm probably better off not to get involved. If I'm not on my game, I think my team do better than I do. Sometimes especially these days, now that I've removed myself more and more, I tend to be more of a thorn than a benefit, which I guess is a good thing. It's a compliment, I guess, but still. So I just wanted to learn more about you, really. So take us back to the start and what made you create this company, especially back then, because back then it wasn't as popular, was it?
It wasn't as popular, no. So Glyn and myself are both chefs by trade. We've worked in lots of different kinds of businesses, but most of our career was spent cooking in Michelin-Star restaurants. So right at the top of the culinary game. He's worked at Lot Boom, which now has 3 stars. I worked at the Ledbury, which now has 3 stars. We both did some time at the Fat Duck and places like that. So we crossed paths in a restaurant, in a slightly rather unconventional restaurant in St. Paul's around 2012, and we stayed in touch. We felt we had similar food ideas and worked quite well together. And actually we started hatching a plan for a business, which initially we thought would be hospitality, focused on fermentation, having identified that as a important link between lots of the most delicious foods that people get really excited about, like cheese, obviously beer and wine's the classic ferments, but cheese, sourdough bread, chocolate, coffee, all those big complex flavors are all a product of fermentation. And so we thought we'd start a restaurant sort of haloing that as we kind of dug deeper into it, we began to realize there was this amazing health benefits to eating fermented vegetables and how that was dovetailing with, our kind of culinary trend for fermentation being driven by people like Noma. And so we thought we'd have a crack at making a few products initially. We started off actually making some kimchi for a chain of ramen restaurants, but we launched a brand quite soon afterwards, and we thought we'd give the manufacturing, or give a brand supplying the fermented foods a go first, and see if that gave us a bit of a toehold with investors and a bit of momentum to go into a restaurant or hospitality business. And then restaurant's still TBC, basically.
Yeah, right.
Still in the works, but yeah, so we've been on quite a long journey over the last 8 years. I'm sure some people would have made that learning curve a little steeper than we did.
Oh, man,
But yeah, we got to a place now where we produce about 15 tons of finished product
that's
a
insane.
week. We have a great team here of about 40 people, of which 3/4 are making it, and another about 10 people, including Glyn and myself, are managing how we make it and how we sell it and delivering it. So yeah, so it's been a good journey. We've had lots of challenges, both macro things like COVID, inflation, or the sort of massive inflation cycle that we're still in the tail end of now. So there's been some exciting times, I should say, but also, we've built ourselves a nice little business making some pretty cool food, which is, I guess, what we were really setting out to do. It's lucky we weren't trying to get rich.
Well, man, I always tell people, if you're going into the food industry to get rich, you're doing the wrong thing. Like, the money comes if you're lucky at some point, but before that, there's a hell of a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and what the hell am I doing moments. And it's only the perseverance and the kind of passion for it that's going to drive you to profit at some point. So, I mean, the fact that you guys are still here, and it's like you say, going through some incredibly difficult times that you just could never have predicted or accounted for, and you're still here thriving. I mean, 40 staff, 50 staff, that kind of tonnage a week, I mean, that's insane. That's a huge amount of production. And you're basically supplying thousands of different retailers, which means tens of thousands of people are consuming your products on a weekly basis. That's pretty cool. I did the math once in my business. I was like, sometimes when I get a bit down, you become modest in what you do. And I started counting, okay, well, if I sell this amount of fish per week, and I divide that into, a typical portion size, and then you work backwards and you realize, shit, I'm feeding like X amount of people a week. That's amazing. And that kind of adds a different layer to perspective. So have you ever done that? Tons.
No, I haven't done the maths on that, but if only we were doing fish, you could claim it was a miracle.
16 tons of fermented food. That's mental, isn't it? That's a great achievement. You should be proud.
Yeah. About 60% of that is fermented, and the other 40% is just pickled, conventional pickles. So unsurprisingly, we do lots of pickled cucumbers.
Yeah.
As well as and then about 25% of the revenue comes from kimchi. That's our biggest.
Wow.
Our biggest
product. Huge amount, isn't it? And so back to the start. So obviously your vision was more to actually start a restaurant off the back of the fermentation side of things and tackle that. And then you got caught up with, getting some good wins, I guess, early on, and that kind of steered your direction. But looking back on it now, would you have changed anything?
I'm just sort of cycling through the kind of thoughts. There's some personal ones that probably aren't worth sharing on that. But
there's no PG rating. You're good.
Yeah, we'll see, basically. So we worked really hard. We basically bootstrapped everything. We worked really hard to build the business ourselves. We didn't really take on much investment. We had some SCIS investment. We've done a lot through debt. It's made our lives pretty hard, to be honest. But it does mean that we still own and control the business almost. Yeah. That could be much to our advantage if we ever exit the business, or depending on how we, want to sell ourselves up going forward. We're not really answerable to too many people. That said, I think having more expertise in the business, having more confidence that it was going to work, would have potentially meant that we might have taken on more investment, and that would have probably provided a pathway to have more expertise in the business. You really are only as good as your team once you get to a certain point, and I think that having enough money to hire a good team probably would have been prudent earlier on. I have a bit more expertise rather than sort of trying to figure out how to do most stuff ourselves.
Yeah, that's the most expensive form of education, is running your business, because The lessons, unfortunately, are better learned is when you cock up. And cock ups in business can cost, well, the entire business. So it's a very expensive learning curve when you run a business and you learn all this stuff. And you're probably like me, of course. You kind of do things yourself. Before you know it, years have gone by. You've put your own money into it. Like you say, you've borrowed, but it's nice that the same with me. Like, I own 100% of my business, and that goes to something. 18 years in business, still own the whole thing myself. Yes, of course, you can go back all the time. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, but here you are talking to me with 50 people there producing things for you. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think, to build on that, as what I will say is that, we've brought a lot of people along with us on this journey, and I'm, the bit of eating alive I'm actually proud of rather than the food is really the opportunity that we've made for some people and the people that have stuck with us, and, to work alongside them. And like lots of food businesses in London, we have a range of nationalities represented within the business, but all the way through as well. So, that kind of rich tapestry of people that make up this business, it's quite a labor intensive thing.
Yeah,
Prepping
absolutely.
vegetables, especially if you have lots of different products like we do. So, just I think that's something that's really quite lovely. And, we try and foster as much culture as we can within the business. We provide everyone with lunch every day. So we all sort of basically break bread. Has to be a bit staggered because the canteen's not big enough for everyone these days, but it's still, it's the nice touches like that that give the business a really family feel.
That is important. Culture is so important. And I love that what you said about London, because I run a business down in Sussex. And of course, I relied a lot on kind of a foreign workforce, really, because it's difficult to find for seafood production local people that would be interested in that. And the pool of the foreigners there was a lot smaller. And since we've come into London, it's just been so much easier, the whole recruitment process, because and the diversity in cultures that come and work with us have just been amazing. And having that diversity has helped to create the community and the kind of culture that we've got now. So, yeah, I must admit, moving to London for me was a game changer. It's so nice to be surrounded by all kinds of people from all walks of life. I think it just creates a much better kind of environment for everybody, really. Yeah, nice. Let's go back to the challenges, because of course you must have had a fair few starting out. What's been your biggest kind of challenges kind of since you started off? What's been your consistent thorn in your backside with regards to the business and growing?
I mean, so we're obviously a manufacturing business. So I think the planning has always been really tricky to get that right. Planning and forecasting. There are softwares out there that do that, but they're not well suited to small businesses often, and the actual implementation of them can be really tricky. In the end, we built our own system, which we Google platform called AppSheet. So we have a sort of user interface that basically talks to our Google kind of cloud-based ledgers, for want of a better word, really, which is basically spreadsheets. So we ended up basically doing it ourselves, but we've still to this day not really cracked how to integrate a proper planning system into that. And so it's, and what's amazing is I've been into several quite large businesses and they still rely quite heavily on, it's on effectively human intuition and understanding of
Yeah.
the products that need producing when, and, they've got models, quite complex models, but it all takes quite a bit of time to do. And, I mean, actually I was going to say very large business, but they're not monstrous, just planning. That's all they do. Just 4 line planners and they're doing 6 to 5 million or something. We've been into another bigger business, which was all run from a complex ERP system, which is what, you basically need. And they were less than, oh no, they were about double the size of that one, but they had a planning team of 12. So yeah, we know that it does take a lot to do it, but finding that kind of
In the sweet spot.
in the business, is to get that really done. So I think planning's been really tricky. Planning and cash flow, that old chestnut.
Yeah, I mean, cash flow, of course.
We have good weeks and bad weeks. We use invoice factoring, invoice discounting.
No, that's expensive. Yeah, we tried that for a while, actually. It helped out at the time, but we got out of it because it was just, from an accounting point of view, more than anything, actually, for us, that's what the problems were. It's just from the accounting point of view, it was taking a lot of time to kind of like shift through it and whatnot. But in terms
Okay.
of generating money now, that was very, very, very good for us.
Yeah, I mean, certainly depending on how you do it, were you factoring or doing invoice discounting? Is a slight difference in so much as whether you.
No, we were doing it. Yeah, we were in-house doing all the credit control and getting the money, whatever that.
Yeah, so we're doing that as well. But I mean, that's credit controls, which is something we'd have to do anyway. But we don't need. There's not that much administrative requirement for the actual invoice discounting.
Yeah.
We basically pop a number on their system. We send them a list of invoices, and yeah, they
Pay it out.
send us some of
Nice
the
and
money
quick.
back. And then
Yeah, I
they
think it's
just
good for us because we
it.
probably rinsed the terms, I think, more than anything at the time, because then there's all the different, the way they charge you and, you know, because the faction when you get it sold, it's certain percentages for X amount of debt for X amount of time. And of course, the minute your customers start paying late because you're not chasing them or whatever it may be, then all those costs start to rise. And then it's just more, yeah, it was difficult. I just remember that period being difficult.
Yeah.
And in the end, I think what we did was we just literally became brutal with our customers and we just said, listen, like we're struggling with cash flow and we need you guys to pay on time. So from now on, these are the terms. And new customers now, we use a credit safe for credit scoring people. And
Yeah.
if people don't reach a certain score, it's just cash on delivery. But because of the system we use, we take payments for pro forma. So they put the card details on the system. We process the order. We don't take the payment until the delivery is actually made. But also from that same system, we can set how many days until the payment is triggered. Sometimes we give them 7 days, 14, 21, which are, that's helped our cash flow enormously. Our kind of ledgers are pretty decent at the moment. It's positive.
Yeah. I mean, certainly smaller businesses that would work well for. And then I'm guessing, yeah. I mean, we deal with obviously with some of the bigger businesses and they're working with distributors. They kind of call the shots and they have their standard models.
Yeah. Right.
I think Cisco are going to give me their card details anytime soon.
No, you can try. I'd like to be part of the phone call to see what they say.
Yeah. But I mean, now these groups, obviously Cisco bought Fresh Direct and the rest of those businesses, Breaks and everything. You've got Bid Food and I mean, that must be, what do you reckon those two amount to probably 80% of the.
It's a lot.
Catered Food Buying Group.
It's a lot. It's a monopoly, really, isn't it? It's a huge, huge infrastructure. It's the way it's going, isn't it? So, yeah.
That's it.
So challenges. So obviously the kind of planning your production side of things is a challenge and cash flow, of course. What's been if you look back now in the last kind of, 10 years? 10 years almost? 11 years?
Yeah, 8 years.
8 years. What stands out as the biggest kind of, desperate moment where something just, knocked you to the ground and you were wondering what your life choices at the time?
We hadn't, basically we ended up trashing a couple of £1,000 worth of stock. And I remember loading my car up with jars of kimchi, all the seats, everything, floors to ceiling, big car as well, big estate car, floors to ceiling, all the seats for everything. To go to and I got to the dump and they're like, is this, commercial waste? No. It's more. Yeah. And I remember, and it took me, probably an hour to empty all of these glass jars into, full of stuff and thing. I took a photo of it. But anyway, that stands out. That was an absolute heartbreaker. And then actually the moral of the story is be well insured. And we actually have always insured with NFU, which can be a bit more, but it's, being a sort of mutual, they have better terms and they do, on the strength of that, they will actually pay out. Certain things happen. So actually we had some insurance for that. We nearly went under in the interim, but that made a huge difference. So we were actually able to recover about 60% of our loss.
And did you put any measures actually in place? Because, we've had something similar happen to us in the past and we haven't yet actually, stupidly, but you can get some like SMS alerts for when your fridge is in that.
We've since built a new unit. It's just opposite the old one, and more of the products are stored in there, and that's on something called XWeb, which actually the contractor provides. And so basically, if it's out of temperature for X amount of time, they'll just automatically flag it, and in fact, they'll basically automatically book an engineer.
Nice.
So they're tracking thousands of cold stores across the country with this system. But yeah, so that's, I mean, it's definitely worth doing. I mean, internally, we use data loggers. We have we have 3 full-time in our technical team, which is the food safety team. If you're in a restaurant or something, you might have a consultant.
Yeah.
We have 2 quality managers in the production team. And then we have 3 in the technical team as well. So arguably we've got a sort of 5-person QC operation. So 10%, more than 10% of our workforce is focused on that. But obviously, with fermentation and food in general,
Yeah, of course.
you live and
Especially the ready to eat, that's the kind of highest risk, isn't it, from environmental
yeah,
health?
actually, because of the low pH, fermented foods can be classified as low risk.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
no,
That's
they're
good.
raw vegetables and ready to eat. So yeah, so we operate what we call a medium risk, which is one of these sort of slightly grey terms. So we have a kind of enhanced low risk facility here where we do use captive footwear and but
You sound so approved as well, I take it.
have South Sea, yeah.
Have you gone for BRC or is that out of the question?
That is coming next year.
Oh, wow.
So we need to do some more work to the units, but we've been working
that's the
towards
thing.
that for quite some time. But it really, it unlocks a lot of doors basically.
Yes.
And also for the business's development and the people from within that technical team as well are obviously all keen to do it. And so actually I feel quite strongly that there's a lot of benefit to the business or, to the company itself, to the business from a quality perspective. That is the absolute gold standard of quality. And,
Absolutely.
as I said, especially as you get bigger, you're living and dying on the quality and you can't be watching over everyone all the time. And, the reality is as hard as, people do try and people are very, dedicate, they're committed, you will get people cutting corners just because they've got a lot to do.
It is absolutely. And but like you say, quality is above all else because you only need one problem and that could potentially jeopardize your entire business. So it's worth investing in that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the operational complexity is actually paid back from the quality improvements that you get and the development for the actual business and the team itself will benefit strongly from working within that environment. The transferable skills that everyone gets above the kind of operational team that we've got, but as soon as you're working with that kind of system as a team leader, a supervisor or in quality management, then, you're really learning some transferable skills.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, I guess also the BRC thing, like you say, just helps open doors to pretty much anywhere then, isn't it? You can knock on anyone's door.
From a commercial perspective, it's really strong as well. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the point. Hopefully you can, even if you think that, well, we're getting on okay now the way we are, if you want to be really taken seriously by the big boys, you're going to have it.
Yeah. And what's been your, we talked about some challenges, we talked about problems and all this kind of stuff. What about highlights? What's been your biggest kind of achievement, do you think?
Well,
What moment do you...
Get the,
Yeah, let's put a positive note on this. It's been a bit doom and gloom.
Yeah, highlights. I mean, look, at the root of the whole thing is the food. And so Glenn and I are, we're both chefs that went into it because we love food. We're food obsessives and we've won some really great awards for the food. We've had 3-star products that have been nominated for Golden Fork Awards at Great Taste. And I think that, the fact that we've going into customers, we've done some interesting dinners with the Ramsey Group focused on our products. The highlights are definitely focused on the food. That's the thing that.
Yeah, well, that's a novel way to put it, really. It's a humble win, isn't it? Because ultimately that's what it boils down to, isn't it? Is people actually appreciating what you're making. Simple as. And what does the future hold for you guys? Like, what is it that, in the next 6 to 12 months, what's your goals? Where are you going? Where are you heading?
Big one. We talked about BRC. I mean, that really is the big one. People that aren't really familiar with it will be able to gauge from your reaction what, how big a step that is for a business and how much
it's huge
to get that done. And so that's a really big one. We've been through a lot, as we mentioned financially, particularly over the last few years. Hoping that we're going to turn our first profit in 4 years. That's going to be really great as well. We've been, give or take, break even. We haven't had, aside from 1 year, we haven't really had sort of a catastrophic time out there, but we've paid back a lot. We've only got some very manageable debts now. We've paid off a lot of debt.
I presume you guys just reinvest when you say this is quite, we need to make this clear to people listening, because when you say you break even, it's not that you're not making money, but you're obviously investing in growth. So every time that, to get to 50 staff, to get to where you are now, that requires a significant investment. And of course, that comes off the balance sheet, your P&L, doesn't it?
Yeah,
When you say break
exactly.
even, it's not, you know what I mean? To the normal person,
We
it
obviously have a
sounds
we
one way,
obviously
but
have
to
a
a business owner, we understand what that means.
yeah. I mean, we have a considerable gross margin, which we're then able to put back into the business.
And in terms of like your kind of client base and where you want to grow, is it more kind of food service where you're leading the way more? Is it retail? Is it a bit of both? What's
Yeah,
your online sales like? Is that a good income?
we are excited to try and expand our retail and kind of get the products into the hands of more people and more consumers directly, and be, to have that voice with them. But food service has always been the kind of richest vein of our business. It's around 80% of our revenue, and we've got some really great partners. We work with GAILs. Their sandwiches or salads have nearly always got a pickles element to them, and that comes from us, and that's been an amazing relationship. They're very focused on quality and integrity of the products and the companies that they work with, and so we're able to work with their food team to develop products alongside them. We have a similar relationship with Leon as well. That works very well.
That's a good one as well.
So we've got some really great customers, and we've got some other similar businesses that we're working with increasingly closely. Yeah, I mean, for us, providing providing a service that's really based on us working with food teams in these businesses where we're developing products directly for dishes. That's something that we're really trying to maximize. That's been the best part of our business, and provides these really long, meaningful partnerships. So yeah, that's definitely what we're pushing for. The perfect pickle partner. That's what we're calling it.
Well, how do people find you then? Do you do a lot of outreach, or is it a case that your reputation kind of exceeds you and you're getting everything inbounds? Like, how does that work?
So you were talking about reinvesting, obviously we do invest in sales, and we have a couple of good guys that are doing that. We definitely get a lot of inbounds as well. Obviously that's generally smaller businesses. Yeah. So we have a couple, we have a kind of, and then trade shows. So yeah, so we've got a couple of agents, that aren't in-house, but are very experienced, high quality people within the industry. It's such a small world, the food industry, really. And then you start segmenting it further and further into different categories and different kinds of products. So finding the people that have got the ear of the decision makers. We were just saying earlier how there's, what, 4 or 5 groups, and businesses that make up the bulk of the food service distribution, for businesses above 20 sites. So having people that are able to get through those doors and have those conversations, it's much the same in retail, isn't it? You need someone who's able to talk to category directors, access. So we've found the right people to do that, we think, but obviously that comes at quite a price, and they're quite long cycles as well. And that's why working with the food teams is really important in service or hospitality world, so that you can be constantly part of that new menu launch. And, that's exciting from a food perspective, but obviously from an administrative and development perspective, it's pretty, it's a lot of work. So yeah, so we're just, we're excited at kind of creating more of these really meaningful relationships with
That's what I know.
the continued proliferation of raw foods. My big personal interest is about eating natural food. I've always, since having grown up on a diet of KFC and Sunny Delight as a teenager, as soon as I was sorting out my own food, it was pretty much garbage. And quite early on, it didn't take long, and I was suddenly just sort of I started working in kitchens. That was another thing. Started seeing, how food was cooked and what it meant to make real food. And I've grown up eating, real food. My parents were super chilled. You could pretty much do whatever you wanted, but the one thing you always had to do was you had to call up by 7 o'clock to say if you were going to be back for dinner. They ate quite late. Dinner would be on table at 8, and if you weren't going to be there, you had to let mum know in time so she didn't make your food for you. See, I came from a scratch cooking family, and then I
That's
learned to
good.
cook myself, and then I sort of just realized, I was like, this stuff is absolute garbage. And I find it no surprise that, consumers are finally cottoning on to the damage that it's actually doing to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah,
Absolutely, man, because we grew up at a time where the awareness wasn't there, was it? And our parents, bless them, most of the time, as good as they did, it's just, it was everything was against you. I mean, bloody hell, I used to go and buy cigarettes for my parents when I was little. You know, it was a very different time. I used to finish school and go to the bloody fag shop down the road and just get a pack of B&H out of the bloody vending machine. 15, you know, like
Grass is
just
points.
yeah, exactly. Pat, well, look, I think that's been a really quite fascinating conversation, actually. Bloody hell, man! I just can't believe the volumes you guys are doing. That's such a great achievement. I mean, wow, you should be very proud of that. I think that's any kind of business owner's dream, especially in the food industry, to be creating that sort of volume and keeping your integrity and quality and essentially everything in house. You know, because a lot of people get to a point where they outsource the manufacturing and they just keep hold of the brand, and you guys have like kept, you know, the whole thing from nose to tail, essentially. And I think that's a commendable fact about your business that, you know, isn't always the case in the food industry. People don't realize that, but a lot of the times the brand you're eating is produced in a factory that produces many, many other lines for many, many other people.
Yeah, yeah.
So the fact that you guys still do that, I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's definitely exciting. But I mean, if we stop making this, that was the bit that we thought we were probably good at, making the food. You know, that was the bit that we knew, whereas, you know, the kind of marketing side of things was, you know, we had to learn that on the fly. So we didn't really want to let go of, especially with the fermentation, you know, the IP is important as well.
Well, I mean, is there anything else you wanted to add, or like, have we not talked about something you wanted to mention?
Oh, I mean, that's, I think we've covered quite a bit there, and yeah, thanks for having me. It was good to chat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm gonna come and visit you guys at some point. You're only done, all right?
Well, there's some kimchi here. Well, maybe I'll come to you. I'm a big fish fan.
Man, absolutely. Like Fridays and Saturdays in Birmingham is when we open up to the public. Of course, come anytime. I tend to work from home mostly these days. Absolutely, man. Hit me up anytime you want to come down.
Yeah, or vice versa. If you're up in town, give me a buzz.
I'd love to
We'll
come and
sort
see
it
your
out with some
site,
kimchi
actually. I'm
sauce.
such a geek when it comes to production. I love to understand, you know, how people get the product from entry to exit, basically, and everything that happens in between. It's something I really enjoy.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, stay in touch, and yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, we talked about where people can find you. You can, you know, online, obviously. Do you list where you can buy your products off the shelf?
London-based people can find them in Planet Organic.
Yeah.
If you ask in your local health food store, they may have some of our products, or they'll definitely be able to get a hold of some. There are some farm stores around as well. Darts Farm's a big one. Piper's Farm's an online butcher. But yeah, there's a few. I won't say there's a couple. Ginger Pig in London, they stock some of our products.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we need to have a chat because we probably we cross paths quite a lot, I think, on the retail side anyway. So maybe I can give you some contacts, and you want to share some of yours. Let's see if we can help each other cross-pollinate.
Yeah, that would be good. All right, amazing. That's losing the name, right? The London Food Network.
Absolutely. And very soon in January, I'll start the physical meetups again in our office. But the idea of that was to actually start kind of rotating where we have the networking event, to kind of have it in different venues, so that, you know, part of the whole point is to understand food businesses in the area or further afield and learn as much as we can about everybody.
Maybe you do one here sometime.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be cool. Well, thank you very much, Pat. I really appreciate your time on this. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, share it, and give it to anyone, really. Give it some love. We'll be back soon with more founders and leaders from the world of food and hospitality. And that's it. Thank you so much, Pat. Really appreciate you. And best of luck with the BRC.
Thanks. Speak soon. Bye.